The wind howled through the cracked walls of the desert village, carrying dust and fear with it. Ryan was just a human technician, sent to this far-off alien world to fix a broken power core. He never expected trouble, never expected war, and definitely never expected to become part of something ancient and sacred. He had just finished his work on the generator when he heard the screams. At first, he thought it was just a wild animal or a malfunction, but then came the sharp sound of laser fire, the unmistakable shriek of pain, and the burning smell of destruction. Ryan dropped his tools and ran. Not because he was brave, but because something inside him told him to. He turned a corner and froze. A young alien girl lay on the ground, bleeding, with torn robes and frightened eyes. A group of raiders surrounded her, speaking a language he didn't understand, but violence? That, he understood very well. Between them and the girl was a silver blade, unusual, glowing, ancient-looking. No one touched it, as if it burned to the skin. Ryan didn't know what it was, but he knew one thing: the girl needed help. "Hey!" he shouted, picking up a broken metal pipe. The raiders turned, snarling, ready to finish him. That's when he saw the sword, lying half buried in the sand, its handle carved with symbols. Without thinking, he dropped the pipe and grabbed the sword. The moment his fingers touched it, a shock of warmth surged through his arm. The blade lit up with strange energy, and the raiders paused, eyes wide with shock. Ryan didn't understand, but he moved anyway. He swung the blade with the awkwardness of someone who had never held a real weapon before, but the sword seemed to guide him. His hands moved faster, smoother and stronger. Within seconds, 2 raiders fell, groaning. The rest fled in panic, leaving behind only silence, dust, and the girl. Ryan rushed over and kneeled beside her. "Hey, it's okay now, you're safe," he said softly. She looked at him with wide violet eyes, blinking slowly. "You touched it," she whispered in a shaking voice. "You touched the blood blade." "Blood what?" Ryan asked, confused. He helped her sit up, using his jacket to cover her wounds. "Is that your sword?" "I just picked it up because the crowd began to gather. Dozens of alien villagers, tall and cloaked, their faces painted with clan markings. They didn't look angry. They didn't even look surprised. They looked reverent." An elder stepped forward, his face full of wrinkles and wisdom. He stared at Ryan and then turned to the girl. "Valari," the elder spoke. "Do you accept him?" Ryan blinked. "Wait, accept me? For what?" Valari's eyes welled with tears, not of fear, but something deeper. She looked away, then nodded once. "I accept." The elder bowed his head. "Then it is done." The villagers lowered themselves to their knees. Ryan stood, confused, still holding the glowing blade. "What's going on? Can someone tell me what I just did?" The elder finally looked him in the eye. "You have taken the blood blade, sacred to our warrior clan. Only a bonded protector may touch it and survive. You wielded it to save Valari, the daughter of our fallen chief." Ryan felt cold all of a sudden. "So I'm her protector?" The elder nodded slowly. "Protector, husband." "It is the same." Ryan's heart stopped. "Husband." He blurted out, looking at Valari. She looked down at the ground, her face unreadable. "You touched the sword," she said quietly. "You chose me, whether you meant it or not." Ryan stumbled back. No, I didn't mean look. I was just helping." The elder's voice turned firm. "Tradition is older than meaning, human. You chose with action, not words. You have taken a path that cannot be undone." Suddenly, a scout rushed forward, breathing hard, raiders returning heavily, armed. The elder turned to Ryan. "You must leave now. They will come for her first. Now that she is bonded, you are the only one who can protect her." Ryan looked at the glowing sword in his hand, then at Valili's wounded form. He could walk away, leave this strange world behind, but if he did, she would die. He sighed, tightening his grip on the sword. "Fine, I'll take her with me," he said, voice low. But someone better start explaining the rules before I accidentally marry a whole planet. The villagers parted as Ryan lifted Velari into his arms, above them. The sword shimmered once more, as if accepting its new bearer, and so, a human man walked away with an alien girl in his arms, unaware that by saving her, he had just become part of an ancient vow. A vow that would change not only their fates, but the fate of entire worlds. The old desert winds whispered through the canyon. As Ryan flew the rusted shuttle away from the village, he didn't know where to go, but he knew one thing: he had to keep Velari safe. She was unconscious beside him, wrapped in a blanket, her breathing shallow but steady. The sword lay glowing across his lap like it was watching him, judging him, reminding him of what he'd done. "I just picked it up," he muttered, gripping the controls tighter. How could touching one sword mean I'm married to her? After a few hours of flight, Ryan landed near a hidden cave network far outside any patrol zones. He carried Velari inside carefully, setting her down on soft moss. Her alien skin was pale blue and faintly glowing, her silver hair tangled and dusty. She looked peaceful, but not for long. When she opened her eyes, she stared at the cave ceiling for a moment, then sat up sharply. Where are we?" she asked, her voice weak but alert. "Somewhere safe, I think," Ryan answered. "You passed out after we took off. You lost a lot of blood." Velari touched her side and winced. Then she looked up at him, not with gratitude but with burning anger. "You fool," she hissed. "You have no idea what you've done." Ryan blinked, confused. "I saved your life. You bonded with me," she snapped, in front of the entire clan. "The Bloodblade is sacred. It binds lives, not just bodies. You didn't just protect me, you claimed me without my will." Ryan stepped back, raising his hands. "Hey, I didn't know that. I didn't mean to claim anything. I just wanted to help, that's all." Velari stood up slowly, pain tightening her face. "Intent doesn't matter in my culture, action does," she said. "You took the sword. You used it. The clan saw it. The elders saw it. Now, by ancient law, I am bound to you. But I don't want a wife." Ryan protested. "I didn't ask for this either," she replied bitterly. "I trained my whole life to be a warrior, to lead my people, not to be married off like a gift to a human who can't even hold the sword properly." Ryan looked at the weapon still resting against the cave wall. "It held just fine when I needed it," he said, his voice low. That made her pause, her expression shifting. "Maybe the sword chose you," she whispered, more to herself than him. "But that doesn't mean I do." Ryan walked to the edge of the cave, trying to clear his thoughts. "This bond thing. Is there a way to undo it?" Velari looked down, silent for a long moment, then said, "If we break the bond, the clan will see it as dishonor. They'll hunt me down. And you too." Ryan let out a heavy breath. "So we're stuck. For now," she said. "But you have to understand, I didn't choose this. And I don't trust you." "I don't blame you," he replied. "I wouldn't trust me either, especially after accidentally marrying you." The silence between them stretched for minutes. Outside, a red moon rose above the dunes. Inside, the fire crackled between two strangers caught in a bond neither wanted. Just then, the cave sensors beeped movement. Detected. Ryan rushed to check the scanner, a group of heat signatures. "Fast moving. They found us," he muttered. Velari drew in a sharp breath. "Enemy scouts. Likely from the Nightfang clan. They're the ones who attacked the village. If they kill me while the bond is fresh, it breaks everything." Ryan stared at her. "Break everything, meaning?" "The sword, the marriage tie, the clan honor. It would start a war," she said. Stepping beside him, Ryan grabbed the sword and handed it to her. "Then we fight." She didn't take it. "You picked it up first," she said, her voice softer. "Now, it obeys you, not me." Ryan's grip tightened on the handle. "I'm not a warrior," he said quietly. "But you're all I've got," Velari replied, looking into his eyes. "And I may not have chosen you, but I'd rather fight beside you than die alone." They stood shoulder to shoulder at the mouth of the cave. The wind howled again, but this time it carried courage. Valari lifted her dagger, Ryan raised the glowing blade, and together, for the first time not as strangers, but as unwilling partners, they faced the dark, neither knowing what would happen next, but both ready to survive it, and deep inside the sword's ancient core, something stirred. The bond was forming, stronger than either one could imagine. The cave echoed with the sound of footsteps, fast and closing in. Ryan held the glowing blood blade with trembling hands. Valari stood beside him, gripping a small curved dagger, her eyes sharp and alert. They didn't speak, but both knew. This would be their first real test together. The enemies came like shadows, black armor, curved weapons, red glowing eyes, Nightfang scouts, trained hunters of Valori's kind. They moved fast with the cold focus of killers. But Ryan didn't run. He stepped forward, swinging the blood blade. It hummed with ancient power, slicing through the air like it knew its purpose. One of the scouts lunged, but Ryan turned, blocked, and struck back. The blade flashed, and the enemy collapsed. Valari covered his side, spinning low and striking another with her blade. Their movements were not perfect, but together they survived. Within minutes, 5 scouts lay defeated at their feet. Ryan gasped for air. "I can't believe we did that." Valari didn't smile. "There will be more," she said. "They never travel alone." She checked the bodies quickly, then looked up. "We need to move now." They rushed back to the shuttle, a battered old spacecraft Ryan had modified years ago. As they took off, the engines roared, spitting dust behind them. Below, more shadows moved through the canyon, too many to fight. Inside the cockpit, Ryan gripped the controls. "Where do we go?" he asked, voice tense. Valari opened a small holographic map. "There's an abandoned station on the edge of the Yalara belt. No one goes there anymore. Too unstable, but it's outside the clan's sensor range." "Perfect," Ryan said, turning the ship toward the stars. As the ship cut through the clouds and into open space, Ryan finally breathed. But peace didn't last. A red light blinked on the control panel. "Tracked," Ryan muttered. "Someone tagged us." Valari cursed it in her language. "They're not letting us go. To them, I'm a stolen bride, and you're a thief of honor." Ryan looked at her. "I didn't steal anything." "I know," she said softly. "But that doesn't matter to them." Suddenly the radar pinged a sleek, dark ship appeared behind them, fast, armed, and closing distance. "I hope your old ship can run," Valari said, gripping the edge of the seat. Ryan smirked. "She doesn't run, she dances." He pulled a lever instantly. The shuttle rolled to the side, diving between asteroid debris and space junk. The enemy ship followed, firing energy blasts that exploded near their tail. The old ship shook, metal creaked, alarms screamed, but Ryan flew like a man who had nothing to lose. Valari stared at him, surprised. "You're not just an engineer, are you?" "Used to race cargo runners," he said through gritted teeth. "Got banned for cheating. But I learned how to fly scared." She looked ahead, eyes narrowing. "Bank left now." Ryan turned the ship just in time to avoid a crashing asteroid. The enemy ship clipped the rock and spun off course, giving them a moment to breathe. They slid behind a dead moon and shut off the engines. Floating in silence, hidden, the cockpit was dim, only soft red lights glowing. Both sat in silence, hearts pounding. After a while, Ryan leaned back, eyes closed. "This is insane," he whispered. "Last week I was fixing reactors. Now I'm married to an alien warrior and being chased across the galaxy." Valari sat still, then said, "I didn't want a husband. But you saved me, and now, whether I like it or not, we're in this together." Ryan looked at her, really. Looked at her, not just the alien markings on her skin, or the warrior's strength in her eyes, but the weight she carried, the pressure of her bloodline, the loneliness of never having a choice. "I'll protect you," he said softly. "Not because of tradition, but because I don't leave people behind." Valari blinked, and for the First time, her voice softened. Maybe the sword did choose right after all. The radar beeped again. Another ship? Ryan asked, checking the scan. No, Valari replied, eyes lighting up. A jump gate. Just beyond this moon. We can reach the outer systems from there. Ryan restarted the ship quietly. We'll go to that abandoned station you mentioned. As they prepared to move, Valari placed her hand lightly on his arm. Thank you, she whispered, even if this all started by accident. You didn't run, he smiled, tired but sincere. Not my style. They launched into the black once more, not as enemies, not as strangers, but as two souls bound by fate, running from war, searching for peace. Behind them, the clan wars. Stirred, but ahead an uncertain future that was somehow theirs to shape. The jump gate flashed behind them, shrinking into the void as Ryan's old shuttle drifted toward a forgotten part of space. Ahead was a dying red star, dim and quiet, surrounded by broken rocks and dust. And hidden between them, floating in silence, was the abandoned station. Valari leaned over the console, eyes fixed on the old structure. This is it, she said softly. The Temple of Ikari. Or what's left of it. Ryan stared through the window. It doesn't look like a temple. It looks like junk, she nodded. It's ancient. Before my people had ships, before swords became symbols, this was a place of learning. My mother said truth sleeps here, truth that even the elders forgot. Ryan docked the ship slowly, landing on a cracked metal platform. The lights flickered weakly as they stepped inside. The walls were covered in carvings and alien text, some glowing faintly, others dark with age. Valari moved like she'd been here before. Her fingers touched the walls gently. Tracing each symbol, Ryan followed, the blood blade strapped across his back. Glowing softly in the dim light, they entered a round chamber where the ceiling had partially collapsed. In the center stood a tall pedestal. Upon it, a hollow circle filled with floating light. This is it, Valari whispered. She reached into a pouch and pulled out a small crystal. It was shaped like a teardrop, glowing faint blue. My mother gave me this before she died, she said. One day, if I ever felt truly lost, I'd know where to bring it. She placed the crystal into the hollow circle. The room pulsed with sudden light. Carvings lit up, walls shifted, and the ceiling opened into a dome of stars. Ryan stared in awe. What? What is this place? Valari stepped forward, eyes wide. It's not just a temple, it's a memory vault. My clan's real history is stored here. The light shifted, forming images, floating shapes, sounds, voices. A scene played out, an old alien warrior handing a glowing sword to a human. A human with Ryan's face. Ryan gasped. That can't be me. Valari's voice shook. It's not you. But someone like you, a human warrior. Thousands of years ago, he bonded with our first matriarch. They created the blood blade together, half human, half karate. Ryan turned toward her, stunned. Wait, so your people were once bonded to humans before? She nodded slowly. My people buried the truth. The elders rewrote the past to keep control. They said humans were weak, unworthy. But the blade, our most sacred weapon, was created from a union with your kind. The next image showed the sword being broken in two, hidden in opposite worlds. Then came battles, betrayal, and fear. The human was erased from memory, his name wiped from history. Ryan stepped closer to the light. So, what does this mean for us? Valari looked at him with tear-filled eyes. It means the bond between us wasn't a mistake, it was fate repeating itself. Ryan felt the sword on his back grow warmer. The truth hit him hard. He hadn't just picked up a weapon, he'd picked up a legacy. Suddenly, a deep boom echoed through the station. Lights flickered. Dust fell from the ceiling. An alarm blared. They found us, Ryan said, eyes narrowing. Valari grabbed the crystal and ran toward the back door. There's a hidden launch tunnel below, built for emergency escape. They raced down metal stairs as the floor above cracked. Explosions rocked the ancient walls. From behind, the sound of enemies grew louder, heavily armed. fast and close. Valari led Ryan to a sealed door. Placing her hand on a scanner, nothing happened. "It's locked," she whispered, panicking. "The systems are too old." Ryan stepped forward, pulled a panel off the wall. "Let me try," he said, pulling wires and reconnecting energy coils. He'd fixed dyeing machines on forgotten moons before. This was no different. A second later, the door hissed open. They slipped inside, sealing it behind them. A long tunnel stretched ahead, lit with flickering lights. Ryan helped Valari climb into a small emergency pod. As he reached for the door, she grabbed his hand. "You didn't have to come here," she said. "You didn't have to stay." "I know," Ryan replied. "But I wanted to." She nodded once. "I believe you now. The blade chose you. And maybe I do too." The pod launched just as enemy blasts slammed into the tunnel walls. Fire chased them through the dark as the station crumbled behind. Inside the pod, Ryan and Valari sat in silence. Not in fear but in understanding. They had uncovered a truth buried by time, and now the galaxy would come after them to silence it. But they had each other, a sword born from two worlds, and a bond that destiny refused to let die. The emergency pod floated in silence, cutting through layers of space like a lost seed drifting on the wind. Inside, Ryan and Valari sat close, the heat of the narrow cabin pressing them together. The stars outside were cold, but inside, something had shifted. Valari held the crystal in her lap, the memory of the ancient temple still fresh in her eyes. She had grown up believing her people were pure, untouched by outsiders. Now, she knew her entire past was built on a lie. Ryan watched her in silence, not sure if he should speak. He knew what it felt like to have your world turned upside down. But for her, it wasn't just her world, it was her bloodline, her identity. "I'm sorry," he finally said. "For what?" She whispered, her voice calm but hollow. "For ruining your life," he replied. Half joking but mostly serious. Valari didn't smile, but she didn't look angry either. "You didn't ruin it," she said quietly. "You woke it up." The pod jolted slightly, and Ryan leaned forward to check the console. "We're approaching the drop zone near the fringe planet," he said. "There's a small outpost here. One of your clan's forward stations, remember?" Valari nodded slowly. "Yes, it's hidden inside a mining crater. If anyone still follows the old ways, it'll be them." They landed inside the dusty canyon, far from any active patrol zones. The outpost looked half buried, just a metal door and a few antennas sticking out of the rock. When they stepped out, a cold wind rushed past them. Valari stood tall despite her exhaustion, her hand on her dagger. They approached the entrance, and a scanner blinked red, then green. The door slid open slowly with a hiss. Inside, a dozen karate warriors looked up from their tasks. Eyes widened when they saw her alive, and with a human beside her. A tall woman stepped forward, battle armor scratched and worn. She had a long scar across her cheek and eyes like cracked glass. "Valari," the woman said, shocked. "We thought you were dead." "I almost was," Valari replied. "This human saved me." The woman's gaze shifted to Ryan, then down to the blood blade on his back. "He touched it," she muttered. Valari nodded. "And it chose him." There was a long pause before the woman finally spoke. "I am Kira of the Stone Guard. Your father trusted me once. If you still carry his blood, you are welcome here." Relieved, Ryan and Valari were shown to a small chamber to rest. The walls were rough, carved from rock, with symbols of their clan painted in faded ink. For the first time in days they could breathe, but peace didn't last that night. While Ryan slept, Valari stood in the hallway, staring at the stars through a cracked panel. Footsteps approached behind her, soft and careful. "You should have died," whispered a voice. Valari spun around. Kira stood behind her, but her expression had changed, colder, sharper. "What are you talking about?" Valari asked. "You weren't supposed to survive the attack," Kira said darkly. "The elders gave the order. Your marriage bond with a human. It's Shamus our name. Valari stepped back slowly, eyes narrowing. You were like family too. My father, I was, Kira replied. Until he broke tradition, he believed in unity, in truth. In the old ways, but the council. They want control, you were in the way. Valari reached for her dagger, but Kira was faster. She pressed a blade to Valari's throat. I could end this now quietly, they'd thank me. A flash of light struck the wall beside Kira's head. Ryan stood behind her, holding a small plasma cutter like a weapon. Back away from her, he said. His voice steady and dangerous. Kira turned furious. You shouldn't even be here, she growled. This is not your world, human. Ryan stepped closer. No, it's not, but she is. And if you try to hurt her again, I'll remind you what this sword can do. Kira glared at them both, then vanished into the shadows. She was gone, but the message was clear. Valari had no friends left in the old ranks. Back in their chamber, Ryan sat beside her. I should have seen it coming, she said bitterly. They'll never let us live peacefully. Even our own people are against us. Ryan placed a hand over hers. Then we stop running, he said. We fight back, not just to survive, but to expose everything. Valari met his eyes. We need allies, she said. Not just warriors, truth speakers. Old rebels, forgotten clans. Where do we start? Ryan asked. She stood, her strength returning. We start with the sword, and the name of the first human who touched it. Outside, the stars turned slowly, above them. Betrayal lingered in every shadow, but below, a flame had been lit, one that would not be easy to extinguish. The stars above the crater blinked like tiny eyes, watching silently as history prepared to repeat itself. Ryan stood beside the landing ramp of his ship, arms crossed, the blood blade on his back pulsing gently with light. Valari paced slowly across the rocky floor, her eyes filled with worry, thought, and something harder to read, doubt. They had escaped betrayal, but not the burden of the bond they carried. The clan elders had sent a message through secret channels. Return and complete the ancient ritual, or be hunted as outcasts. Ryan didn't understand why this ceremony mattered so much. He hadn't asked to be part of their customs, but Valari understood to them. The ceremony wasn't just about marriage, it was about power, honor, and the sword. The council is afraid, she said at last. If we complete the bond, the bloodblade becomes fully active again. With it, we can challenge the elders. Without it, we're just fugitives. Ryan looked at her, his voice steady. So you want to do this then? This whole ritual thing? Valari paused, then nodded slowly. Yes, but not because of them, she said. I want to do it because I choose it now. Not because fate chose it for me. Ryan blinked, surprised. A few weeks ago, she had nearly stabbed him for touching the sword. Now, she was choosing him. Valari stepped closer, her voice soft. I was raised to fight alone, to never need anyone, but I've seen you risk your life for me. Again and again, even when I pushed you away. I didn't do it for a ceremony. Ryan said, I did it because I care. Their eyes met, and in that moment, the bond between them grew without magic. No blade, no oath, no ancient rule, just something real. Later that evening, a signal arrived. A meeting point had been approved. A neutral moon, once used for diplomatic rights. No weapons allowed, only tradition. Ryan and Valari landed at the moon's surface as twin suns dipped beneath its mountains. Waiting there were 3 elders, dressed in deep red robes, and a dozen clan watchers. The mood was cold, formal. Elder Kalanen, the most senior among them, stepped forward. Valari of the Karate. Ryan of Earth. Do you stand before us freely to complete the bond of blade and blood? Ryan looked at Valari, then nodded. We do, he said, his voice clear. A curved altar was placed between them. The blood blade rested atop it, glowing now and brilliant. Gold. They were told to place their hands upon it together. As they did, the sword reacted, pulsing light upward like a beam into the stars. The watchers gasped. This was no ordinary bond. The blade was awakening in full. But suddenly Kira stepped forward, her face tense. "I challenge the ceremony," she said loudly. Gasps echoed. The elders turned sharply. "You do not have the right." Elder Kalen snapped. "I do," Kira argued. "I was first to command after the old chief's fall. I claim right to protect the clan's purity." Ryan stepped forward. "This again?" He muttered. "You want to destroy what your own people built?" Kira pulled out a ceremonial dagger and pointed it at Velari. "I challenge her for the right of leadership." Velari didn't flinch. "I accept," she said coldly, before Ryan could react. The two women circled one another at the altar. No armor, no blades, only tradition. A fight of honor, not death. They moved fast, fists, elbows, knees. Every strike tested not just strength, but Will. Ryan wanted to interfere, but Velari shook her head. No. This was hers to win. After a final blow, Kira fell to her knees. Blood trickled from her lip. Her head bowed. "I yield," she whispered, voice cracking. The elders stood silent. Then Elder Kalen nodded. "The challenge has ended. The bond stands. And the sword belongs to them now." The ceremony resumed. This time, Ryan and Velari stood taller as the sword shimmered, glowing with power. The sky above them shifted. A pulse of energy spread across the stars. Somewhere far in space, ancient watchers stirred. The sword had awakened after centuries. The union was complete. Back on the ship as the moon faded behind them, Ryan looked at Velari beside him. "You didn't just win the fight," he said, smiling. "You claimed your life back." Velari leaned against him, her voice soft. "And I claimed you too. Properly this time." They both laughed, gently, tired, relieved, and strangely happy. But peace wouldn't last long. Now that the bond was real, every power in the galaxy would come for them, and some would try to break what had just been forged. The ship drifted in quiet space, far from the watchful eyes of the clans. Inside the cockpit, Ryan sat beside Velari, her head resting gently on his shoulder. The sword, the blood blade, rested between them, glowing softly, almost peacefully, but peace was never meant to last. Not for those who carried truth and power in their hands. A sharp alarm broke the silence. The radar blinked. A large vessel was approaching fast. Not just any ship. This one bore the crest of the High Karate Council. Velari sat up instantly, eyes narrowing. "They're here," she said. "The council has come to take the sword and silence us forever." Ryan stood, checking the ship's defenses. "We can't outrun them," he said. "And we can't outgun them either." Velari turned to him, her voice calm but strong. "Then we don't run. We show them who we are." Ryan nodded slowly. "Let's send a message before they arrive." He opened the comms channel and activated a broad signal. Across nearby systems, screens lit up. Pirates, traitors, rebels, and even forgotten clans all received the broadcast. Ryan stood in front of the camera, sword in hand. "This is Ryan of Earth," he said, "and beside me is Velari of the Karate. The Bloodblade has awakened, and so has the truth." Velari stepped into view, her voice firm and proud. "Our ancestors built this sword with human hands and karate hearts. The council hid it, lied about it, but no more. The bond between us is real," Ryan added, "and we will not break it to protect their lies." They ended the message and prepared for what was coming. Outside, the council ship lowered its weapons slowly. A voice came through the speaker, calm and chilling. "Surrender the sword, or be erased from memory." Ryan looked at Velari. She nodded once. "Let's make history." The enemy boarded quickly. Dozens of armored soldiers entered the ship. Weapons drawn, Ryan stepped forward, holding the Bloodblade. It shimmered with golden fire, responding to his grip. The soldiers hesitated, unsure. No one had seen the sword fully awakened in generations. Then the elder commander stepped forward. "I was there when your father died," he said to Velari. "He begged for peace, but he was weak." Velari's face went cold. "You call truth weakness," she said, "but truth is the only thing stronger than fear." With a cry, she lunged into the fight. Ryan followed her, the sword moving like an extension of his heart. Together, they fought back with precision and unity. Every swing of the blade cracked the air, sending waves of force through metal and armor. Valari moved with the grace of a warrior queen, and Ryan, though human, matched her with courage and instinct. The soldiers fell back, unable to break them. The council commander raised a heavy weapon pointed at Valari's chest. Ryan saw it too late. He threw himself in front of her, taking the impact knocked him backward. Blood on his lips, he collapsed near the sword, motionless. "Ryan!" Valari screamed, catching him. Tears blurred her vision. She looked at the commander with fury. "You took my father. Now you try to take him too?" She rose, picking up the sword. But something strange happened. It didn't resist her touch anymore. The sword accepted her now, because the bond was complete. She attacked with the strength of two hearts, not just her own but his. The council commander fell, and the soldiers surrendered. After the battle, Valari rushed back to Ryan. He was alive but barely. He smiled weakly. "Still not a warrior," he whispered. "You're more than that," she replied, her voice shaking. "You're my husband, and the reason we're still breathing." Medical ships from rebel factions arrived soon after, drawn by their broadcast. The whole galaxy had seen what happened. The truth was out. The council's lies had crumbled, and a new era had begun. Weeks later, Ryan stood at Valari's side as the first united council of Karadian humans formed. He wore no armor, no medals, only the sword at his back. Not as a symbol of war but of unity. A young alien child pointed at him and whispered, "Is that the one?" Her mother nodded. "Yes, that's the human who touched the sword and became her husband." And in the hearts of many, a legend was born of the man who never asked for greatness, but earned it with every choice, every step, and every scar. He had protected the warrior and become her heart. He had held the blade and awakened a people. He was the human who changed everything, not through force, but through love, loyalty, and one accidental promise that became his destiny.